So once again, welcome back everyone. Hope all of you had a fantastic tea break. We had some nice refreshments and tea there. Our next session is a presentation by EON Reality's chairman, Mr. Lejerskar. He will delve into the topic of revolutionizing education and workforce development with spatial intelligence, showcasing EON Reality's vision and successful project. With that, Mr. Dan, please. Okay, can you hear me well?
Yep.
Yes. Very good. First of all, thank you. I'm so happy to see faces here from different corners of the world physically, and I know we have another 150 people that are online. From it's a big world there, many time differences. I was delighted to, first of all, I want to thank Bruce and colleagues from IT for hosting us today in ITS. And it's extremely exciting presentation Dr. Sabina shared with us of how actually to land this technology in a practical context that makes sense and provides value. Because in the end, that's the way we talk about value. How can we help our students to learn faster, retain information longer, and make better decisions? Now, my presentation will be a little different, will be very hands-on. So we will actually build a lesson together today. You're going to see the technology in action. And I hope by the time I'm done with the presentation that we have answered a few questions. Number one is why? Why is this technology valuable? Why can we achieve the outcomes that we so much desire? The next question, what exactly can you benefit from by adopting this technology? And finally, how? How can we together with IT and partners and yourselves, make this possible? You know, I've been doing this for many years, 36 years to be precise. I'm 62. Most people at my age start to think about, oh, 3 years is retirement. But I feel a bit like a kid in a candy store. The journey just begins. For me, the next 10 years will be extremely exciting if they still keep me around here. And the reason is because the technology, although technology has been there for many, many years, there's been a lot of challenges. Nobody disputes the value of augmented reality, virtual reality, and extended reality. That's very clear. We know that you can learn 4 times faster. You can get more emotionally engaged. All these things is 4 times more effective than e-learning. Those are studies, not for a long time. But the problem has been to do it. And the big problem is cost and time. So if you look at cost, to have those devices that we all see or walls cost money. So just for that, I will use what 7 billion people have in the pocket today. So the only way I'm going to use is what you all have today. So we actually solve that problem with the cost we expect with the hardware, the infrastructure. The next problem is creation. Creating this content has been very difficult for many years. And the problem is complex. It's a bit like a blanket. If you cover your chest, you leave your feet bare, and if you cover your feet, your chest is bare. What I mean by that, you want to do it fast, and you want to do it with quality. The problem is, initially, when we started our business 25 years ago, it was fast. It was quality. We were selling $10 million simulators. Now, how many here can buy a plumbing simulator for $10 million? I don't think any hands are raised. No? It works well for aerospace. It works, but it doesn't work for most of the things with regards to technology. Then we went through speed. So the last 5 years, we focused, how can we make it fast and easy? How can we make it so my mom can do this? While we achieved that, and now lately with AI, then the next problem was, yes, we did it fast, but the quality, the depth required wasn't there. So now I'm very happy to share with you that today you're going to see both. You're going to see the speed and you're going to see the quality. Okay, So enough speech, let's get this thing on the road. So with that said, we will look at how this technology is effective. We will gonna look at this technology, how you can create a course just using raw materials, how EON has built today the world's largest library with more than 36 million assets for creating those type of experiences, and also how this technology is now spread across the world. But let's take a step back. We live in a very unusual time. We live in a time of disruption. According to IMF, 60% of the jobs will be disrupted. It's going to be a painful transition. If we don't do much about it and we just react, it's going to be many jobs will be displaced. And eventually they'll be replaced, but it'll be a big gap that can cause a lot of pain and suffering. If we are proactive about this, the gap can be small. I see Singapore is a pioneer in minimizing that gap, and we heard it from Dr. Sabrina so well today. So what do we need? We need a rapid retraining or rapid training, rapid adoption, and that gets back to the question I talked about, team speed and quality. Now, before I go into dive into the concrete examples, which will spend 90% of my presentation, I want to put this in context. So I thought, let's take the biggest company in the world and one of the most famous academic institutions and see what they think about spatial AI, or the ability to combine artificial intelligence with spatial contextual environment. So we'll start with Eric Smith, former CEO of Google.
Imagine a textbook in any field that's nothing but synthetically generated images based on where you need to go. So rather than reading and listening, you study a picture. And then you study another picture, and you use the three-dimensional aspects, everything, motion, everything, the gamification, everything you describe. Intuitively, that learning process would be more engaging than what you and I went through. So when you start thinking about the power of imagery for learning, somebody who gets this is going to build a system which is like a different learning paradigm that really, really works. But in our lifetimes, we should set a goal of having every single person in the world having the access to an AI doctor and an AI teacher. This would bring everyone up. Right? Everyone in the world has health problems and educational problems. Why can't we solve them all now?
And the answer is yes, we can. As a famous African American president said a few years ago. Okay, so then let's go to academia. I like to use Stanford, and I use the pioneer Pei Li. If you don't know her, she's I would say the foundation researcher around, very famous in AI. She's the one that kind of links AI with images and things like that. Let's see what she has to do.
Seeing is for doing and learning. In 3D space and time, we learn to see and do better. And if we will advance AI beyond its current capabilities, we want more than AI that can see and talk. We want AI that can do. And with 3D worlds, real or virtual, augmented reality guiding surgeons to do safer, faster, and less invasive operations. The computers and robots powered by spatial intelligence will not only be useful tools, but also trusted partners to enhance and augment our productivity and humanity and lifting our collective prosperity.
Okay, so now let's go into the concrete aspects. The first question I always get, so is there any studies that shows that actually this helps? And for you that are interested, I have a 30-page document with at least 80, 90 citations from academic institutions that have tested this. And obviously I can't share that with you, but I'll share a 60-second video.
We have conducted a study on virtual reality learning. We found learners in VR required less time to learn. They had higher emotional connection to the content, higher confidence, and were less distracted during the training.
Okay, so that sounds good. Now, we need to acquire knowledge, right? We need to do it in a best way, and the best way to acquire knowledge is obviously through experience, right? And in order to do that, we can use extended reality, or historically, nobody disputes simulators. And we need to do it across different segments, and that's been difficult. I already said it has been expensive. And today, you will see a solution that actually is cost efficient. And I will divulge the secret. It's what we've done is we created an agent, an autonomous agent that drives. So when you ask him to do a course, it's actually schizophrenically multiplies in 31 agents that all go to work in parallel. So one is creating the 3D environment, one is creating the audio, one is doing the pedagogic aspect, one is doing the assessment, and it happens at speed of light. So what would take us hours and days, we can do later. You'll see that today. Now, I'm an engineer, so I like numbers. 2018, if we met to do one experience, we are taking us 3 days for a skillful person that even knows programming. 2019, 3 hours. Code free, no coding required. 2022, 30 minutes, and today you'll see it's in real time almost. Well, of course, because you can do that, the number of courses have exploded. So it's not unusual for a national rollout like we have tomorrow with Ethiopia. We're offering 10,000 customized courses, which would have been totally unrealistic. Now, let's talk about a little bit detail. So you have to improve the content creation. So that means that you have to create new courses. And then you have to improve the content creation by taking your existing courses and converting them. Those are the 2 problems when it comes to content. So you have on the left side, the new courses, right side, existing courses. And we're going to see both of these. Now, it's interesting enough, only 5% of our customers want to do new courses. The main need is to take their existing courses from books and text manuals, which we'll do today, and convert them to this experiential learning. So I'll share a couple of videos very quickly about new courses. So this can be done like this. So let's say I want to do a course about history, civil engineering, about how the Eiffel Tower was built. I can either say Eiffel Tower, or I can simply put a picture. Choose my language. Progresso la costruzione dell'università, French, if I like, or I'm not good at German, so I'll skip that. And Spanish is not my forte language, but I think what to do. So anyway, so you select the language, you put it in the system, just one button, and it takes about 30 seconds, connection is created.
Progresso en la construcción de la Torre Eiffel. Comenzó con el diseño inicial de Gustave Eiffel en 1800.
Everything you see there, the 3D, the 360, the knowledge portals, the assessment, it's all generated without human intervention. Now that's one course. What about if you want 10 new courses? So let's say I'm interested in chemical engineering, okay? So I go to EON, I go to Course Creator, and I click AI Assistant, and I click on chemical engineering. So, and then let's say I am from, it asks me which country would you like to course. I say United States. And then it asks me, would you like chemical reactor design or process simulation or test? I happen to know reactor design as an engineer. I used to look at nuclear power plants and treat them. So I go for that. I eliminate the ones I don't want, and then select the one I want, and then enter experience. Now again, same process. So go now because I have 3 courses, within 3 courses. I select chemical reactor design. And now it's taking experience. You can see the whole thing was built in seconds. Now let's say I'm very picky. I don't like what AI is doing. I like what AI is doing 90%, but I want to change something. So let's say now I'm doing this lesson, and it's about satellites. So I got my globe, I got my explanation, I got my satellite. But I don't like that satellite. So there's a pen underneath. I just click on the pen, and then the 36 million assets that EON has, I can select, opens up, and I can select just to click a button, new 3D model, same type of annotations. Okay, now this can continue. One thing that we saw there is that which is a bit magical, is that it used to be that the environment are very complex to create. Everything you see here was created based on text prompt. I said optical, I said Buddhism, I say forensic science, it generates all of those. Another thing is, how do you follow Newtonian physics? Because it evolved, the avatar needs to know what to touch. So I asked him how to move, it's there, and there are some obstacles along the way. If we climb over it, automatically detect collision, and that means that I can actually maneuver and can understand context there. Okay, so this what I show you now, only 5% of the people want. What are 95% of them want? This is the exciting part. This is the one thing that, so they want to drive also the user experience. They want to create, first of all, that the 3D model and 360 model is generated automatically. The 3D asset, the 3-dimensional model is generated automatically. The sound is generated automatically. They want to have the ability to engage, to stop, to skip, or to have a conversation. Okay, what's this? Or to explore. I'm walking around, what we will do in a few seconds. So it's taking text, which is 2-dimensional, and getting really to an engagement level. So that's one level, that's on engagement. On the other side, on the value level, we want a simulator. If I'm in mechanical engineering and I want to do propagation inspection on an engine of a J28200, which is a Pratt & Whitney engine, happen to know engine. So AI will show me what to do, the avatar, then will say, would you like to do it yourself? There's 54 steps. I'll do the 54 steps and it will evaluate me. And then will tell me what I did right, what I did wrong, what I should do. So this is simulation, right? That could be also standard operation procedure, can be simulation, real-time location. I say, tell me what the most likely situation that this room will turn on fire. And there's going to be overheating in some of the ventilation systems, right? So then it will generate the fire there, and then it will generate the procedures that I have to do. So this is pretty out there. It sounds crazy, but let me show you. So we'll start with the basics, the manual. Now, I get my manual. This is about elevator ventilation. Very, very basic. I have a PDF. I'm uploading the PDF. It dissects the courses. Out of, let's say, these 800 pages, it cherry picks maybe 10, where augmented reality, virtual reality can add a lot of value. Then I select the one I want, and then it generates. Now, on the left side, you'll see the actual manual, underlying text. You can see the training document there. You can see that it generates in what we call flat courses. Courses in video, text, images. On the left side, you see the input. On the right side, you see the output. So the whole environment to the right side, with the avatar, with the machines, with the CAD model, was generated on the fly. So now,
The forced ventilation.
I asked the question about forced ventilation.
Mechanical installation 1.
And the avatar can show me and tell me and guide me and assist me throughout the process.
The braking surface on the flagged bearing plate and the tube is hard. On the motor shaft are free of dirt and grease.
I mean, you learn by doing, right? You learn by context. The abstraction level when you read the text is quite different. Now, someone says, yeah, that's good, but you know, I have 1,000 pages. You just cherry-pick a few of these. What are the rest? So here's where EON portal comes in. Have fun with music here. So let's say I have a chemistry manual or textbook. I can now prompt the textbook, but in this environment. So the things that are not covered in predefined lessons during play mode can be interactive. So the question was, sorry, how do you do chemical volcano using the available components? So to do that, you need to understand what's in the room, what are the ingredients that come from the textbook, and start to apply them in the equation force, right?
Component 1. Baking soda.
So first it gives you the ingredients, and then it actually instructs you how to do it.
Stir with the glass stirring rod and observe the colorful foam produced.
Okay, so that's the fourth one. And at this point, someone says, yeah, that's good, but where's the sound, the potential sound? So imagine in the good old days, you used to have text or sound effects. There were whole departments in multimedia that generated sound effects. But now we have to do the sound in that instant, in that second, from scratch.
At the battle rage point, the relentless filled the air.
For example, your lungs take in oxygen.
These tasks prevent wear and tear, ensuring the car runs smoothly.
Some say they used sledges and rolled the stones over the rocks.
And you get the point. So the point is that I can get those sounds anytime, any second, based on story, based on me touching a component or proximity sensors. And keep in
The
mind,
ground beneath your feet is soft and slightly down.
so while we're doing that, actually we get the AI to read the environment, and if it sees a monkey, it recognizes the monkey, and it does the ground monkey sound. So it's pretty remarkable. Okay, so now at this point, someone says, okay, that's great, but how do I remember all this? The good news is that you don't. You don't have to remember it, because obviously, as we say in America, we are eating our own dog food or drinking our champagne, if you want to the French version, meaning that we have an avatar that is here to guide you. So if I ask the question, I'm lost, how do I get the login page? How does that work? You only need a video, the text, the images that I need in order to guide myself. Or how do I start the meeting now with Uganda? I'm here. And I want to invite you here in Singapore, this circle that will start in a second. I'll start the show here, this room. How do I get them in that room? You can answer. Now, at this point, what about if I don't speak English? I can talk with it in my own home language. So let's have a look.
Vad är den mest imponerande funktionen i EON-XR?
En av de mest imponerande funktionerna är denna
EON-XR.
So if I start speaking Chinese, it will recognize and change the whole interface in that language. Okay? Last things. So far, one problem we had is how do you find the right 3D model, right? Because if you are in, let's say, if I ask about the reproduction cycle of honey badgers in Eastern Ethiopia versus the peace process in Sinn in Northern Ireland, those are quite different things, right? How do I find matching 3D model for all of these? So the way we do it is we have this huge library that we license, we have ourselves, we built for the last 25 years. So before the hit rate, when you automatically create a lesson to find the right suitable 3D model, 6 months ago was 15%. So only 15% of cases you define the perfect model. We are now up to 98%. In fact, I'm so trusting this that we will do a demo today on fly, and you'll see not only the 360 but 3D coming up. And then I saved the best to the last. One problem we have to do a simulator, it's pretty complicated. Because first you need to build a 3D environment. Then you need to recognize what's in the room and all the components. So the AI needs to see, identify, and understand enough to connect it with the text. So that's the challenge. We call it spatial IQ. And I'm very happy to share that we finally solved it. We've been working on this for 3 years. Number of patents around it. So, tell me about the people that work in the operation room and how do they interact together?
In the operating room, the surgical unit includes 1 surgeon,
So it can do it on an image, it can do it on a 3D model, it can do it in a 360 environment. So once it recognizes everything, then you can ask, for example, do a fire in the corner and tell me how I can escape this room. Let's have a look. There seems to be a fire. What should we do?
Well, activate the fire alarm. Alert everyone in your vicinity by activating the nearest.
So it found the fire alarm.
You should
because
use
it
the
sees
alert
everything.
sign.
It found
To contact the fire department or emergency services immediately in case of a fire if the operator.
so it can help to guide me.
Emergency exits.
It even shows me the door.
The emergency.
Now, this is in virtual reality, but you can imagine you can experience also the physical reality. We'll see that in a second. Okay, the last one, skill simulator. That's the epiphany. So I've been dreaming about this for better part of 5 years because I'm a simulator guy. I used to work with simulators. And how can we've been able to do food simulator for 3 years, but it was manually, painstakingly difficult. So first, an instructor needs to show you what to do, right? Doesn't matter what. Then you need to do it virtually. And then someone has to evaluate how well you've done. So let's have a look. And then the evaluation is to be done in such a way that I can learn from that and improve my skills. Explain how to do an
Using
elephant.
elephant toothpaste is a
Toothpaste.
fascinating
I
experiment
use a very
that
silly
requires
example.
careful attention to safety. Begin by putting on safety goggles to protect your eyes from potential splashes. Pour hydrogen peroxide into the bottle, then add a few
So first the avatar, this animation was generated without human intervention. Then the animate the avatar asks, it's time for you to do it. So now I have to use my phone and, as you'll see in a second, do it myself. How do you do that? So I have a 3D assessment mode. I grab with my phone, it's called the chopstick, and I start working, doing the steps. And in the end, I get an evaluation after I completed all the steps. So you can see here, the step one was do the safety. So it tabulates, it registers everything I've done. So I should have taken the safety glasses, which you see across, meaning that I missed that. I should then get the hydrogen peroxide, which I did, the flask, the Ellen Mayer flask, the food coloring. I missed the last part, which is the dish soap. So without that, there's no effect. And notice here that it gave me only 69 points. My time was it. I did a lot of incorrect steps. I got good score on this. I didn't do any unnecessary steps. I was good there. So now suddenly I have a simulator. Okay, enough videos. Are we ready for some real action? I guess so. So what we're going to do today, just to make it very practical, I went online and I downloaded a lot of courses, right? So one of these courses is mechanical engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning, biotechnology, chemical engineering, nanotechnology, etc. Okay? So we're going to take the first one, which is basic of mechanical engineering. This is a document that contains 130 pages plus, right? And we're going to load that into the system, and then we're going to create the courses, and then you're going to experience it. Okay? The first thing we're going to do here, and if I can do it, I'm not a technical person, meaning that my day job is not to do this. I intentionally don't want to use this gentleman because his job is to do that. Because if I can do it, anyone can. So I go to course catalog. I go to institutional train AI. I go to download. I download this document that we just looked at. And what's going to happen now, the AI goes to work. So the AI will identify all aspects of this textbook, the text. Now, the beauty with this is that one thing that people don't like with AI, what's that? Hallucination. In Singapore, we are very safety-minded. We don't want, even if it's a little bit of something, if it's 99.9%, but 1% can be wrong, it's devastating. Especially, and we work with US Air Force, we work with hospitals, and US is pretty religious. Let's see here. Meanwhile, it has done differences. We went to the course, what's mechanical engineering, engineering scrutiny, stress, strains, material properties, thermal energy systems, fluid mechanics. Let's go for 7. I can ask all of them, but then we will need some more time. Okay? So now it goes to work. So what is that is actually respecting, it only extracts the information from the book. They cannot hallucinate. If I ask the question slightly outside this, they will say, I don't know. Or better still, it's not in the book. Now, if you insist at that time, so okay, so now it's identified thermal energy. They say, score the fundamentals of thermal energy systems, understand the first and second law of thermodynamics, now you stop the equation, etc. So I say, that's fine, let's go. So going back to my story, so it will then respect it. And that's why EON can work today with very large hospitals in the United States. We work with a number of institutions in defense, safety. And by the way, you can see 15th of August, 2025, 11:28, which is 30 seconds ago. The lesson is cooking. So it's produced. While it's produced, we're going to use my device here to see the lesson. I can always see it there, but in interest of your, I thought let's use it what anyone has with them, even if they are here on a visit. So my rest of the presentation, I see I'm low on batteries, not well planned, but I think we can still make it. I'm going to move here, and the rest of the demo will be done on my phone. Now, you don't have to have a phone. You can have a tablet. You can have a PC. You can have a Mac. You can have a headset. You can have a large screen, anything, 31 different devices. So EON is totally agnostic. We don't really mind what device is here. So what we're going to do is 4 things. One, we're going to look at the course that has been created. We're going to step 1. You can see here there's lots of courses. In the bottom here, you see that that's my workspace. Those are the course. You can see even when I woke up this morning, because it's timestamped. So you can see that I have thermal energy system that was done 52 seconds ago, right? That's the one we just ordered, right? We have typical types of product design that was done 3 hours ago. Design process is overview. I tested. I'm becoming a bit Singaporean. I want to be safe, so I don't want to expose you to something just in case. But you can see that I did the whole course, all the courses this morning. Okay, so let's pick one first that we did of all these courses. So we'll take typical types of product design. And now we're going to look at 2 things. One is sometimes when I spoke with a gentleman in Germany, when he's doing a new course in cybersecurity, he needs to build that courses. Just the paper part, forget about the 3D part, to get all the materials about, in this case, design, adaptability, variant design. All this can take months to do. But in our system, this is done on the fly based on the document that was provided. This can also have things like, so this is not so remarkable in itself, but it's a good start, right? It's a good base. You get also an essay, you get also the lesson plan, you get also the suggestion for other references, quizzes, etc. Okay? And now let's go to, so we have 3 options. One is to go to the pen, which is here, that's edit. We can go to start the meeting. That's when I invite my colleagues from, I don't know, Colombia to come in this room. Or we can go to start experience. We're going to do start experience. We're going to actually convert this into a design room using my phone. And this was different type of design methodologies. Okay. So now it's downloading a pretty extensive interior 3D space. It's downloading an exterior 3D space. It's downloading a design element, in this case, being a car. It's doing all the assessment procedures. To be honest, what I'm doing on this phone, 10 years ago, would cost you $2 million to do on a very large screen that I think you invested in, called the IQ. So you can see yourselves here, and I can click here, and you can see that I have a car.
This is an experience about typical types of product design.
And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheat.
Next, I will explain to you about automotive design.
I'm going to attach microphone to my phone. So you notice that they also built
Typical types of product design. An introduction to mechanical design and manufacturing involves several key components. Selection design focuses on choosing the best materials and components for the product. Variant design involves creating different versions of the product to meet various customer needs.
You heard her voice, they trust me on that. Let me go and start having
Choose the
fun.
product easily.
It's all about the experience, right? I'm curious to see this car.
Involves creating innovative and unique
I want to drive it.
redesign. Involves
I want to follow the lesson. Now you gave me, you got me engaged, right? I'm interested. It's not just a
These
paper.
components work together to create successful product.
I can look
designs.
behind. I
Next,
go
will
outside.
explain to you about variant design.
I can ask her questions. I want to change my environment. I want something outdoors. Design was generated on the fly. The 3D model was generated on the fly, the environment, the lesson, everything. So this will go for 20 minutes if we continue. I'm not going to do that. I can ask any questions. I can end my instructor portion. I can start exploring myself if I want. I can ask for assessment. Let's go back and ask for assessment. And I want, let's say here.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have
Start
questions.
quiz challenge. The timer begins when you press start.
Okay, so let's start. It's asking me a question about quizzes.
Primary goal of user-centered design.
What's the primary goal of user-centered aesthetic appeal? No? User satisfaction. Okay, I haven't trained on this. It's live. So I can do this. I can explore this. We are just scratching the surface. And I can continue to do the assessment, the engagement with the simulator, and the whole session. I will be able to go here. If you're the teacher, so let's say you have your lab there, and you want to see, because you talk about analytics, which I love. I like to measure everything, right? So I can check here, okay, let me see who was assigned to this, how many students. I can have 5,000 students that looked at that. And how well did they do? I can see it on an individual basis. I can see it on a whole campus. So I can see here that 60%, or this I tested this lesson before, right? So 60% goes down. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the lesson that was just created a second ago. And keep in mind that I've never seen this lesson. Let's see here. This is about thermodynamics, right? Thermal and energy system, 6 minutes ago. And again, same thing there. Okay, don't worry, we're not going to show the whole lesson. We're going to just show thermal design, energy systems, control volumes, heat transfer. Yeah, one of my masters was in this area. So I know a little bit about this. Okay, so now I will go to edit. Before I do it, I want to try that it works. Okay, I don't want to, I'm Singaporean now, so I need to make sure that I don't expose my students for something I haven't seen. So we'll try it. But you can see the benefit, right? The ability to see part. You mentioned something that I thought was very interesting. How do we make technical, I call it technical vocational training, I'm old school. How do we make it exciting? How can we make it so they are proud to do it? And I must say, I spent a lot of time in Southern Europe, and I can tell you, no offense, because I have a house there, they don't think technical vocational training is, they are almost ashamed to be in that area, which, by the way, is one of the most practical and important aspects. How do we get them excited? I think this is one way to get them there, right? To get them captivating, to be able to interact, because the world, as we get machines, which jobs are going away first? The cubicle jobs, right? The guys that went for masters like me are the ones that know what is it we need. We need to be able to work together with a robot. Okay, so this was done automatically.
You're in edit mode for thermal and energy systems.
You can see that it's selected. It talks about the first law. It builds a 3D environment for me. It switches to an outdoor environment related to this topic. I'm somewhere in, it looks like I'm, oh my gosh, I'm in Las Vegas, on the way to Las Vegas. And it allows me to do everything. I can now add, I can send that I want to private, public. I can even put it on the marketplace and services kids. Okay, I know that time is running out, so I'm not gonna bore you too much, but I do want to get a little deeper because I promised depth. So if you allow me, I'll be slightly theoretical now. So the steps that we are seeing, so this is the old process that we used to do. We first have a lecture part where the avatar tells you what he will do. Then we have an engagement part where you can converse with the avatar and show and tell. Then we have an assessment part, and then we see how the session ends. If you break that down, there were a number of components. Historically, because we couldn't do simulators and we couldn't do a sophisticated assessment, we spent a lot of time on the lecture. And we had a pretty anemic assessment, and the session was pretty anemic, the one that I showed you right now. But what we're doing now, which is super exciting, is this. Let me just show you that. Okay. And exit. Okay. So now you see this, and if I'm internet connected, you'll see something here. My internet doesn't cooperate. You just see that I'm connected. IT lab. Let me refresh. Otherwise, I have it. It works. It'll be too boring, but I think it's worthwhile going into a little bit of depth. So you have the lecture, you have the engagement, you have the assessment, you have the simulator, and you have the treatment feedback. Let's look first at the first step, what's happening. So in the first step, you have the lecture. Actually, I'll skip that and go here. In the lecture, it will talk to you about the topics. Today, in the demo I saw, there were floating annotations. So with the new version that we have now, the annotations are actually contextual. So we have annotations on an image, on the 360, on the 3D model. And each annotation is linked to text, pictures, videos, sound. The second part is the engagement part. So now, based on what you learn, you have to ask questions and you have to explore. Now, if you don't know what questions to ask, it will prepare predefined questions and it will show you and tell you based on this. Now, we have two options. If you put by the course, the virtual reality course, it will generate those on the fly. If you ask a question that's outside what was prepared by the creator, let's say you as a creator didn't think about that aspect of the question, but it's still in the manual. It will generate this icon on the fly. That's almost magical. So it will generate the notes portal and that. Then the next thing is, okay, so I do that, but then I want assessment. So before, the assessment was a bit anorectic. What I mean by that? Quizzes, Jeopardy questions, fairly, I mean, things you can do on paper. That's exciting, but not so. So I said, what about if we use the power of AI? I'm familiar with Socratic dialogue. How many are familiar with that here? Socratic dialogues. Okay, so why don't we introduce Socratic dialogue? Why don't we introduce thought-provoking questions where the AI is asking you questions and you have to see. We introduce that. So let me give you an familiar with Socratic. So let's say if I'm interested in typical Socratic dialogue is a method of asking and answering questions to stimulate critical thinking and illuminate ideas. So a good example, they have to be contextual, right? Avatar will ask you, what do you notice about the structure of this specific molecule? And that's your question. And then here's the benefit. Depending how you answer, the language you use, your mind complexity, the accuracy, the avatar will immediately adapt to you. So if you use plain language and you're not so if you are, it will make you feel comfortable at any point. And this continues with hypothesis formulation. Okay, based on what you observe here, what happens if we alter this component? And again, it's the same thing. It will give you first question, Depending on the answer, will be a follow-up question. Depending on that answer, it will actually tell you what's right, what's wrong, and how you can do better. And this goes on. Thought-provoking questions, for example, or casual relationship, ethical considerations. And these questions are formulated on the fly based on the topic. Okay. Now, what I mean by adaptive language is that it not only does the complexity of the language, if you struggle with technical terms, but then it changes. If I'm talking with Biden and he's very slow with someone else, then it will actually go slow with him. And this happens on the fly. So pace adaptation. Okay, so on that note, that's what we mean by III. This is Socratic dialogue, thought-provoking question, adaptive language. And then the next one is the one we actually saw, at least flavor of it, which has to do with the skill simulator. So the skill simulator is avatar demonstrates, show you what to do. Step 2, user practice. I practice again and again until I say I'm ready. And then you assess me and you analyze my performance. And then finally, when I'm done with the whole thing, then I go to the end part, which is session feedback. So now I get this beautiful radial graph that measures me. How well did I do on the quizzes? How well was my deputy result? What was find and locate? Am I good at understanding the Socratic dialogue process and the skill simulator? And I get my final score. We do that because it's difficult to combine eye candy, which I showed you a lot of, with the value that this provides, which for me. So what you're seeing now for the first time ever, we are able to combine the speed, which is required to make this available in mass, with the quality, which is required to value. And that I'm almost done, so do I have 2 minutes more? 3 minutes more, okay, that's generous. So fasten your seatbelts, we're gonna go very fast for the rest. Okay, guys. Now, how do we do this? When you team up with EON, you don't team up with EON. You team up with the 32 best companies on earth. Because EON was created. Amazon Web Services for cloud. OpenAI, Llama, Gemini, or language models. Brocade Labs for generating 360. Ready Player Name for the best avatar. So our philosophy is only the best. Because I have a philosophy. If you can buy it, don't build it. It's a typical Silicon Valley. So why 50 engineers to do the best audio is #1 in the world. So I partner with them. So partner with the best. And that also future-proofs not only our relation, but future-proofs our products. Because if something better comes up. So what we pride ourselves is to understand the problems. Having done this for 25 years, we have over 24 patents in specific areas that we IP, but we are not afraid to partner. So I think that's in this industry that moves so fast. And that's also the reason we've been around for 25 years. Now, I want to just tell you the last thing is that this didn't take, we only look at 5% of our products. We continue this, for example, this, which is soft skills. People talk a lot about hard skills, but more interesting to do something. I need to go to a job interview.
Experience.
Please explain about your.
Certainly. Throughout my career, I have actively resolved conflicts in various professional.
You can train to be an HR person, or the interview person, or the other way. You can train to be the job applicant. And then you get the score, and you know how well you did. For example, I was trying to do HR exit interview. I was lousy. I got 23 of 100. 3 hours later, I was 90 plus. So every salesperson that works for EON needs to be 75 or over in terms of sales pitch with an avatar to qualify. The problem is that in real life, you can never do that. Or you do it, but it costs you dearly. How many times have you walked out of a meeting where you said, if I only remember to say that, you have to do it. You can practice with an avatar anytime. So we talked a lot about physical experience, but what about virtual experience? talk about virtual skills. How about virtual skills?
Okay,
Remember the Ethiopian Airlines that unfortunately crashed because of Boeing problem? The problem was that pilots didn't get clear instructions what to do. So now they have our system, not Ethiopian Airlines. They can actually have a tablet, and this tablet that you see to the left tells them what to do. So the instructions are not they are in the physical space. So the idea, in my mind, is that you need to learn, you need to train, but you eventually need to also perform your skills in real reality. You may not remember all the steps, but you have your phone, right? So you can go the avatar, and it helps you in the physical space. And this can be used for everything from security operations to, I don't know, if you are in, for example, in locations like in Italy,
There's native marble and is approximately 9 feet tall.
and you want the guide in English or Italian. So with that, I've talked about other things. I'm not going to talk about value. I'm not going to talk about platform. I will not either talk about the different locations and benefits we have done over the, you can watch this later, we will talk. But what I will use as a closing argument is that we have both academic customers, industrial customers. We are now focusing on our business is twofold. One is bottom up, that we work with one organization at a time, and top down when we work with large organizations, like countrywide. We also were very successful to attract grants, especially for developing countries, and we are setting up centers. So the center that we are setting up, we will start tomorrow. It starts at 130,000 users in Ethiopia, goes to 500 accounts with everything, infrastructure with Amazon, 10,000 payment courses, we are doing job interactions. So it's a whole package. And we see Singapore as a leading edge. We see it as a great partner, marriage of bringing, because we have a third of the part, or let's say 40%, 60% of the other part that we heard Sabrina talk about today. So that's, if you marry 1 + 1, it becomes definitely 3. And we want to combine those, create digital twins, and I have the idea about not what happens when the light bulb is wrong. So we actually are building those in the labs together with IT at the moment, with more than 150, I think it was 50,000 courses. That's where we start now, based on a white label solution. And then together we've gone to they have, I think, 1,000 students physically, but they have a need for 170,000 students. So that's where we can scale. And my role, what I'm dedicating the next 7,000 days of my life, if I can live so long, you never know, but I'm betting on that, is to go from 42 million users to hopefully 1 billion. And I was very happy. We just signed a pretty large agreement here in June, that it's 230,000 users. So we need to get to scale. And that requires China, that requires Indonesia, that requires India. So I'm so honored, and I'm going to spend a lot of time in India. They are also beautiful countries like Vietnam, they can finance and stuff. But we need to work to be honest. This is my message to Singapore. I was in Singapore in the 70s. I was in Singapore in the 80s. I remember one time I came to Singapore. This is my time, I don't know. I came there and I wanted to take a taxi, and there was a guy with the cartridge. He was 70 plus, and I felt so sorry for him, so I took and helped him. Singapore was a fairly poor country. Look at you now. The question now you're rich and you know you're rich. That's when it gets dangerous, right? That's what America was in the 80s. Now they are poor and they know they are poor. That's another problem. So what we do now here in Singapore, because I'm looking, is doing what you're doing now, doing what Bruce is doing, helping nations to make their journey that you did during 50 years to make it so. Leapfrog. That's my mission. If I can do that with you, and I can leave that to my grandchildren, I can look back by the fireplace when I'm sitting there, my life is complete. So on that note, I will skip the rest of the slide, and I have one sentence for you. With that, I'm done. Ethiopia, will hear more about that tomorrow. By the way, this is the Prime Minister. He's talking to the government about why this is so important. So I'll skip all the rest. Okay, my last slide. Knowledge is a human right. I'm a product of Sweden. I got my 2 masters and my PhD, which I never completed free. So that's the human right. And our role together as friends is to make this knowledge available, accessible, and affordable to everybody on the planet. Thank you so much.